And that's who I am. I can't change that. Yes, I am African. I never deny that. But I am fully American. That makes sense. I am fully American. So I'm not going to discard that. I'm at the point in my life where I really, really embrace all the messiness of being human. So, and that's one thing that I had to learn how to embrace, was that there are some things that I can't explain why I know. They just happen.
Good evening and welcome to Bliss Talk. It's Friday, today's the 5th, right guys?
Yeah.
June 5th. Here we are. It's summertime. What's up, Sierra? Thanks for coming in today. I have Miss Lavinia Jackson joining me today. She is an author and a poet. And she also has a book that you can find in Barnes & Noble right now. It's called Poetry in Plain Sight. I'm very excited to get to speak to an actual published author tonight. I think I spoke to a few authors in the past, but Lavinia is actually the first person I've ever met locally that has actually published her book. And I'm very, very proud of her. I'm telecommunicating with her right now to get her in here, so bear with me. So we're going to be building tonight. I'm going to be learning a lot from her. A lot of times our conversation leads to a lot of aspiration and inspiration and possibly a collaboration. You never know. But what I love about our conversations is how many keys we get from them. People that I've talked to from the past, they've shedded so much light on things maybe I never even thought about it like that before. And so tonight with Miss Lavinia coming in, it's going to be something different. I feel it because she's so experienced. She has a lot of experiences and just a wealth of knowledge because she's been through a lot. I'm so glad I got to be a part of her presence time after time, like doing hey Lavinia, she's in here. So yeah, time after time at different events and listening to her speak, listening to her poetry. She's just a beautiful person. Come on in, Lavinia. Request to be a part of the live. Request. So what's going to happen is I'm going to ask Miss Lavinia 5 questions. We're going to discuss. We're going to get deep. We're probably going to have a little fun with our goofy self. What's up, Queen?
What's up?
Queen,
how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm so glad we got to sit down and chat. I know last time we were gonna do it, but I needed some time. My brain was just like all over the place. I needed some
because Rona and I don't know, police brutality,
right?
And anything while black. Yeah, it's all right to call out black. For a few days, like for real, it's all right because this here, woo, child.
This is something new. This is something.
It is.
Don't forget to tell her.
See, Dante said that she loves you. I told her.
Hi, Dante, love you, girl.
I told her I was gonna have you on the show today. She was like, "Oh snap! Tell her I love her." Yes. So, Miss Lavinia, I want to build, learn, aspire, collaborate, and share keys with you tonight. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right, let's go for it. The first thing I wanted to ask you is, I see on your page in your description, you said that you are always indigenous. And what does that mean? What does that mean to you?
Because I have heritage. on my dad's side that is indigenous, and because I was born in this country. Like, even though we were stolen, from the continent, my roots are in Essex County, Virginia. Like, and and so the connection to the land and the connection to those traditions that I've built, my family has passed on generation after generation, those things. So no matter where I am, I'm always going to lean into those traditions, and those ways of understanding, even if it don't make no sense to nobody else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm always going to be me.
Right.
And me is, I was born up the road.
Right.
And that's who I am. I can't change that. Yes, I am African. I never deny that. But I am fully American. That makes sense. I am fully American. So I'm not going to discard that. I'm at the point in my life where I really, really embrace all the messiness of being human. So, and that's one thing that I had to learn how to embrace, was that there are some things that I can't explain why I know. They just happen. I don't try to know lots of stuff. Like, the stuff I study is not the stuff that I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, stuff just comes up and it comes naturally.
So what is something, because it sounds like you're referencing to two different cultures. So what is one thing that you can say, okay, this is different from the culture that, I was raised in? I've always, let's see, the affinity for markings, which are different. Like, African tribal markings are different. I have always been into tattooing since I was 5. Like, the affinity to be really close to the earth, and always like pulling herbs and growing things and just being outside. Even down to, I'll give you an example. When I was teaching, I took some students out to St. Louis, and for the opening ceremony, they had a blessing on a burial ground. Now, I grew up in Indian country. There's a tribe right up the road from me. I ain't never in my life have no connection with that tribe of Indians. I don't know them. I go out to St. Louis and I am weeping, and I don't know why. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why I am weeping. And it was not and I will never forget that moment, because they were dancing and I was like, what's going on in my bones? Not what's going on in my head. Because I felt the shift. I felt that immediate connection. And I knew that my father's mom, and all that line, I knew the story. I knew, the tribe, even though it had never been documented. Like, I knew the story, and the stories add up based on where they were from. Like, everything, the logic of who they are. So I was like, okay, so that makes perfect sense to me. Why I don't do things like my mama and them per se. There's some things that I do like, I do like them, but a lot of things I just don't do like my mama and them. I just don't. Okay, so it sounds like you had a connection there when you went out there with your ancestors, so to speak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
sure did.
Cool. That's really cool. I want to move on to my next question for you. What is the biggest misconception about women?
That we are strong. And that's all we. That we are one-dimensional, and that's all you'll ever be able to see. Um, for me, personally, the biggest misconception is that I am always strong. And I'm not. Understand that social media is crafted, boo. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not always strong, but I'm not going to show y'all my bad days. That's just that. I'm not putting that out there.
Yeah.
But they happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
I was just talking to someone that I previously had on the Bliss Talk, and we were talking about how women wear this strong exterior mask all of the time. And you hear how men is just like, well, if you act like you don't need me, then okay, well, I'm gonna act like this, or if you're always acting like you don't need a protector, you need this, you need that. And then I want people to understand the flip side of that. We are always made to look like we're crazy, or we overreact, or we're just way too emotional. And so you have to understand where this mask and this exterior, rough, tough exterior comes from.
Absolutely.
We've learned our lessons about being taken advantage of. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yes. And so now the misconception is, because before the misconception was, oh, they're too emotional. Now the misconception is, oh, she's just strong all the time. No, sometimes I need a little help, but I'm humble.
Right.
I'm so humble.
Right.
And it's a mixture of humble and proud, to ask for that, And so sometimes we come up with these expectations, like, you see me struggling, don't you? Don't you see me struggling?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I mean, and there's a natural arrogance that we don't get to have. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to be humbly confident. And if that ain't the craziest oxymoron of trying to walk, ain't no way in the world.
Yes.
I'm either going to be humble or confident. Like, I'm not going to be both.
Yeah.
Because I know what I got.
Yeah.
So why do I need to be humble?
Right. Right.
No. So when you go for the ask, when you go to ask for help, you have to either be humble or not be confident. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't be like, I'm having a moment. You get the response back of, well, you strong. You know what I'm saying? You've been through blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Stop, slow down. I ain't talking about what I've been through. I ain't talking about where I'm going. I'm talking about right here in this moment. I need help.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to make themselves available, or they don't know how to help the person that they think you are.
Ooh, the person that they think you are.
Yep.
Oh, you spit tonight. That was going to be one of them type of nights with me. That's beautiful. So we talked about the misconception of a woman, our strong exterior, and we talked about how we need to maybe let go in certain instances of one or the other. You can either be humble or you can be confident. You can't be either or. And so the person they think you are, correct. I want to pin that too. Thanks, Sierra, for posting that in there. So, yes. The next question that I have for you: was there ever a time you didn't want to pursue poetry? Talk about it, please. Talk about it, because I
was never going to be a poet. Trust and believe. That was not on my radar. I was going to be a professor, at a college. I was never going to be married. I was going to have one kid, and I was going to live, the professor life. And then I went to college and I majored in poetry. I studied it. And I had a professor who I had for 3 semesters who basically told me my writing wasn't shit. For real. Right. And I dumbed down and watered down. The last semester I had her, I just wrote anything, and she gave me the same grade. She didn't even read my stuff.
Yeah.
And she told me that I was not good enough to get into an MFA, which was my dream. So, right. So even after I switched and had a different professor for my senior thesis, he couldn't convince me. She had done the damage because I had her for 3 semesters.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do nobody's poetry. Not to, even though I had been published before, you know, like whoop-de-doo. No, I didn't want to do poetry. Like, I hung it up. Like, it stayed in journals. I refused to publish it. I would write here and there, but it wasn't anything.
So what brought you back to getting out there and writing poetry again? Because you were nominated for some awards for poetry last year.
Right.
Miss Lay.
Right.
So what brought you back to us?
Poetry has always been the place I go when I'm going through. Like, it's my safe haven. It's my hello. It's my place to help express, you know, what's going on, good, bad, and different. Especially anger, because I have a hard time expressing truly being angry, and I try to be like conscientious of people's feelings and all this other stuff, and poetry is a place I can cuss you out. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the space where I can cuss you out and I can call you all kinds of stuff and you ain't got to see it. Like, it's a great little space.
It's an outlet.
Right. It's an outlet. So I was on active duty in the Coast Guard and going through some stuff. And I just started writing again. I was encouraging other people because I was reading folks, you know, they were telling me I want to be a writer. And I was like, you know, I went to college for that. Like, why don't you do something? I was like, nah. And then I got in trouble for writing.
How?
Because I was supposed to be paying attention to the boys in the gym. And I wasn't even watching them. I was too busy writing poetry.
Wow.
Right.
So you just getting like this writing thing is just hitting you on the head.
Right. And even if I didn't, you know, even when I really didn't want to do it, if I said, oh, well, by the way, I write poetry, and people be like, oh, let me read something. But I didn't do as anywhere near as much until I moved here. Like, it was really in the last 12 years that I have really put a lot of effort into that work. So even though in my book there are poems that I had as a part of my senior thesis, which would have been in 1990, making them hella old, I didn't do anything with that work. I just carried it with me. And I wasn't in the right city. I wasn't in the right place. It wasn't until I got to Greensboro that I got around people who took me seriously. I took myself seriously, and then I was willing to fight for my spot. You know, like I was willing to fight for it.
You know, Lavinia, you've been to almost every single Bliss talk that I've had, and you know how much I talk about environment. And that is so crazy that it wasn't until you got to Greensboro.
I have dogs. They barking at something I don't know. Somebody walking down the street.
Man, I know how they do. My sister has 3 dogs too, and that's exactly what happens when I walk in. But like I was saying, how important your environment is, and you don't even notice that until you make that shift. Does that make sense? You don't even notice how important your environment is until you just up and get yourself in a place where it was meant to be, so to speak.
Right.
You know?
Right. Absolutely.
I always encourage people to play around with that concept. If it's not working out, maybe change the environment, you know? Yeah.
I'm a fan of moving.
Yeah. I know that's right.
Right.
My next question for you is, Describe your journey to becoming a published author. Published author. I got so much respect for you. It's not even funny, Miss Lavinia. I was saying before you got on, when I introduced you, I was like, this was the first person, a woman, so to speak, too, that I've ever known to have a published book that I know personally. And then I Google you today, and I'm like, oh, snap, you can get it from Barnes and Nobles. That's what's up. So please tell me, how was that process, like the very beginning process of that?
I had manuscripts, plural, stacked, collections of poems. I had put some stuff together and said, nah. Put some stuff together, nah. And then I met my publisher online, and my mother was in the process of transitioning. So this is really key to what was going on. Mm-hmm. And this was like, what, 5 years ago? So we were in a similar situation as we are now. Mm-hmm. Like the temperature out, like, you know, the people are angry and we extra black and we tired and people are dying in the streets. Mm-hmm. So
come back.
Okay. He goes, can you get the book together? Can you have enough, you know, for a manuscript? I said, of course I do. He says, can you send it to me? I said, sure. So I sent it to him. He then requested more poems. And I said, dude, this is poetry. This is not a fiction novel. You know what I'm saying? Because he was trying to make a page, you know, number so that he could run the print, you know, to make it cost effective, whatever. And I said, dude, this is poetry. Mm-hmm. We don't do that. He said, no, this is how we're gonna do this.
Again, I feel like I'm missing like really important.
And
you keep freezing up, sweetheart. And I heard
that's weird.
I know it is weird.
Okay.
I heard what you said about your publisher, but you guys met through the internet, correct?
Yes, we met online.
Okay.
I didn't meet him face to face until I picked up my books.
Hello, welcome to Bliss Talk. Today is Saturday. We normally don't do Bliss Talks on Saturday, but yesterday the storm really put a dent in our Bliss Talk plans yesterday. Yesterday I was chatting it up with Lavinia Jackson. She is a poet. She has a book out. She is an author of a book called Poetry in Plain Sight, Barnes and Noble. You can find it at Barnes and Noble. So tonight I want to finish up the second half of our conversation with her, because we were really getting into some information that she was giving us about how she met her publisher for her book. And for those of us who would like to have a book published, this could be some very, very good information for you to soak up, write down. Any of this information will be very helpful and beneficial on your journey to publishing your own book. I have telecommunicated with her to come on into the Bliss Talk tonight. Last night we talked about her phrase on her description. She says that she's always indigenous. So I asked her, what does that mean? And she is a part of different cultural backgrounds, one of them being African American and one of them being Native American. So when she was talking about her indigenous culture, she was really, expressing how one part of her culture, being the Native American, how the differences between them, So that was really cool to hear. I've never heard anybody talk about that. Hey, focus on being free. Thanks for showing up to Bliss Talk tonight. Like I said, I have Lavinia coming in, and she's in here. What else did we talk about yesterday? We talked about what's the biggest misconception of women. We are so strong because I feel like we have to be in order to, shield our hearts. A lot of times we are taken advantage of, and so we have to be mindful who we share our energy. And then we talked about her, not wanting to pursue poetry at one point. And I really love that she talked about how changing her environment. Hey, Miss Lavinia.
Hey.
Filling everybody in on what we talked about. But I really loved how you talked about your move to Greensboro and how that changed quite a few things involving your poetry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think where I left off was we talked about you getting started with getting your book published.
Yep.
And so tonight, I would love to dive into that with you because I'm sure there's people out there who maybe thought about writing their book and don't even know how to get it published. So let's start back from there. How do we do that?
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to preface by saying publishing has dramatically changed in the last even 5 years. Mm-hmm. So even my experience then is different than what people are going to do or consider doing now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's because technology is advanced so much. Mm-hmm. So it makes it easier, quote unquote, to self-publish, but that wasn't my route. I wasn't ready to self-publish. I could have. Okay. And self-publish just means that there's nobody else. There is no, you pay the editor. You sort of create an LLC, and then you find the cover or you find the designer for your cover and pay them. And you pay the editor, like I said. You do the layout. Mm-hmm. You do it all. And you do the books. Mm-hmm. Okay. And if you have no clue as to how business works, self-publishing may not be the most viable thing for you, because I've seen lots of people who can make the profit loss margin work and, their labor and blah, 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 blah. I was not in that space. And I knew that. I knew that I was just a writer. I didn't have the acumen. And I had worked at a nonprofit that had nothing to do with publishing. So I had no experience in making that work. So I was definitely looking for a publisher. Right. I had looked online at a number of things. I have sent out my work to various contests, which is one way to get published. If you go to pw.org, which is Poets and Writers, which is the one I use, they always have contests, and they'll tell you whether they want a manuscript, what size, font, all of that. That's one easy way to get published. Some of them have fees, some of them don't. One that I know that does really well is Main Street Rag down in Charlotte. They've always done well. I've known about them for like 30 years. You know what I'm saying? So, and that way your stuff can be published under a reputable or notable publisher in the field that you're interested in. But for us, we have a different understanding, and that's something that I learned by using, because my publisher is Black, by using a Black publisher. And he hit me too, and Monier, shout outs to Copper Queen and Copper King, hit me to the other side of publishing, like why we choose to self-publish. Because most of your larger publishing houses aren't going to pick our stuff up. Not looking for us. Like the most notable ones. They're going to look, the way the market in publishing is now, is they're going to look to Amazon to see how you're doing on Amazon. Then they're going to solicit, hello, dog. Really? Sit down. Then they're going to solicit your manuscript. They want to make sure that it's making money.
Right.
Before, you know, they go and invest.
Right.
Because when you're looking for a publisher, usually they give you some sort of money up front. And you don't get a lot off your first, I don't know, 500 books or so you sell, because that's all to pay for the money that they fronted you. Yeah. Okay, that's how that works. And then the rest of it, you might get some, you might not, depending on how much money they spent in PR and setting up book tours and yada yada yada. You may or may not see money until you hit a certain threshold, whether it be 1,000 books, and you have to move them within a certain amount of time. And I found this out from my friends who have done this and got on the shelves in Barnes and Noble. You have to be able to move quickly, because Barnes and Noble, turns over their stuff within like 30.
Your book is in Barnes and Noble's, isn't it?
It's online in Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not in the stores.
Okay.
And that happened because when we uploaded the book to Kindle and all of the distributions, there's an agreement that it goes to all major outlets. So it can go to Amazon, it'll go wherever books are sold.
Right.
So that's how that happened. Okay. It's nice to be in Barnes and Noble, but I haven't seen the Barnes and Noble type money. Okay.
Okay.
That's why you see me selling stuff out the trunk of my car, and I know you see me do it.
Yeah.
Like, right.
Yeah.
Like, so that's the difference. And I haven't really seen much from my publishing company. I know he did put up a lot to get me out there. But that contract was 5 years and it's over now. And that's another thing that I thought about before I got on this live. As with anything, have somebody else and somebody else and somebody else read your contract. Do not sign your contract under emotional duress or excitement. Don't do that.
Right.
Because you may miss some small print. You may miss some things that will get you money long term. And I'm not saying I did. I'm saying I just ain't seen the money that I should have seen.
Right.
Because I didn't know. And that's because, like I said on the other video, my mother was in the midst of transitioning. So she was in hospice. It was the holidays. Right.
Yeah.
I had all of that going on.
Right.
And in the midst, I was putting out a book. It was good because it gave me something to focus on. It was bad because, like I said, I didn't really take the time to really read the contract, to really negotiate the way that I wanted to have it reviewed by an attorney, like really reviewed by an attorney. I didn't do none of that.
Yeah.
So, and then when we did February once again, one of the poems, You People, that's the one that people like. That was the first time that I had performed on stage in, like, I don't know, 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I did not perform my own work. As a child, I did recitations in church, and I went on church tours, performing poetry, all, I don't know, 5-6 counties deep, back in Virginia. Yeah, that's what I did. So I was commanding large audiences of like 500 plus at 10. I wanted to retire. Does that make sense? Like, I wanted to retire. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So when I was pushing out the book, the first time that I read from my book was at my mother's funeral.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so my mother didn't even get a chance to see it.
Wow.
I brought the book, I read from the book, and then I told everybody at the funeral, I said she would be happy that I finally put out this book, that it finally got published, and then I sold out of my book. Not trying to sell the book at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I brought it to the repass, and they were all like, "You got a book?" And I was like, "They in the car," because I had stopped. That's when I first met my publisher, because I was on my way to my mother's,
mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying, to take care of business. And he's like, "I got your case of books." Right. Yeah. So that's, yeah. But that's how it went. It did take 34 days, like literally from start to finish. That is a ridiculous amount of time to get it published. That's not the writing process.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I would tell people. Like, it really did take me 30 years. Yeah. Because, there are lots of pieces, and some of them are really new. Some of them I literally pulled off of Facebook to try to fill up pages, because I was like...
I remember you, when I first heard about your book. Hello, Capri.
Hey, Caprice!
Capri, the poet. Hello, people that have just joined us. I am talking with Miss Lavinia Jackson, a published poet, and she was giving us the rundown on how she was able to get her book published, how long it took, giving us some advice if we decide to embark on that journey to publish some of our work. And right now she's telling us, how long that process was, because she had to fill up a certain amount of pages, correct?
Yes.
And you said it took like 30 years of stuff to put in this book. So this is what leads me to my last question tonight. Are you working on publishing a new book at all? Would you consider that?
I put out a little book. I had a limited run for a small book. It's called Other Side of the Moon. I did that one myself. After talking to my friends, one of which is a professor over at Salem, she basically told me that anything that's bound is a book.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh, really?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, so I'm gonna do," and I didn't need like a LLC or anything else. I just sort of made a book.
Mm-hmm.
I have material for enough, like for I don't know how many books. The question becomes, what do I want to write about?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I want? Because that's the one thing about Poetry in Plain Sight, is that it has a whole lot of stuff. It's like an anthology for my life, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want my next book, the third one, to be like that. The second one basically told the story of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I layered it like that, intentionally, like each poem, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, it's over, it's done. Great.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to tell stories with the poems, and not to have so many damn pages, because no, right? Like, who comes out with an anthology, their first book? Like, what the world?
I've seen some poetry books that they fill them up with photos too. Would that count as pages when you fill
Yes,
it that way?
Yes,
okay.
It does.
Okay.
But he wasn't looking for that aesthetic, because he didn't know anything about poetry.
Oh, okay.
He put out a lot of fiction work, so he's used to just 175 pages, you telling the story, yada yada yada, cover. And I was like, "No, sir, this is poetry."
Right.
Really, we don't do that. But I did, and it worked, so I can't say we don't do that no more.
One of my friends, she showed me a poetry book where it was pretty much just different memes that person made and created. And so that's a published book. And
yes.
Literally, when I looked at each page, it was just like a little box with memes and stuff in it. And that's why I was saying publishing now mm-hmm.
is very, very different than it even was 5 years ago, because we didn't really do a bunch of memes. Mm-hmm. There wasn't like the way that we communicate online and how we do and how we can snatch things, and that wasn't even available.
Right.
So yeah, publishing now is yeah, it's different. And do I want to have my own publishing company? Most definitely. Yeah. You know, not for me, right. For the community. Like, I definitely want to give
that. Miss Lavinia, I would love if you had your own publishing company, because look, here's my book. So I spoke with a couple of writers and authors during the Bliss Talks, and girl, I done got so inspired. I done started writing my own little
Yay!
All right. Yay! Every day, right before Bliss Talk, that 15 minutes where I'm just like really anxious to get online with someone, I took those 15 minutes and just wrote a little something into that book, you know. So hopefully by maybe the end of the year, it'll be like a full book, you know.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm all here for it. I have done and talked to people who want to get published, and they've all asked me, like, every last one of them is like, so when are you gonna be a publisher? And I was like, I don't know. I hadn't thought about really being a publisher, but it'll probably be in the works soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many pages did you say he was asking for your
175?
175. And so when you're writing all of this, are you writing in like a notebook? Because I'm trying to figure out what 175 looks like on like a book that's like this size. You know?
Well, if you think about a 5x8 notebook, not an 8.5x11, think about one of those notebooks and 175 of those pages.
Okay.
Yeah, because it'll really depend on your layout. Like, he just literally gave me a regular book layout. Like, it's the same, it's the size of a regular standard book. Depending on your page size will depend on, you know, how many pages you have. And I know now that I'm not limited to his vision, even though, and his experience, you know, because my contract
you have to type it up first and send it over to him.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's typed in your notebook to the computer, and then it gets edited. Okay.
Yep. Yep. And then it gets edited, and then it kicks back to me for the, you know, to review the edits. And then once I say go, then it went to print. It wasn't until I gave the last word and said, yep. And then even after the edits, the final layout, like whatever that is, whatever that looks like, I had to be cool with it. And that was it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome. It's inspiring. That's what it is. It's very inspiring. I hope that you do become a publisher, because I would definitely work with you, you know. It would just come full circle. The first person I ever heard, like, I got to see in person that published something, and then I put out a book, and then here she is again. You know.
I mean, that's one of my goals, actually. Especially for Black women.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's definitely one of my goals is to provide space for them to be able to write and for those that are serious about improving craft, who want to put out really good work. I'm not the greatest poet, but I know people, you know what I'm saying, that are ridiculous, and I can lean into them for craft, because, you know, and it's not to sound, I don't want to sound down on myself or the community at large, but I know the difference between what is published and what isn't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's community published, what's self-published. Some of it is good, and then I read stuff that gets picked up by small press or even large press. And there's a difference in the quality of work. And I want everybody to be able to be comfortable in both arenas.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I definitely understand that. Hey, aka Diva. We're talking about from start to finish. Miss Lavinia published her book. Took very, very long time. Now her goal is to become a publisher at some point, to help out the Black woman in the community. She's talking about people, who are serious about their craft. That's the kind of people that she wants to work with. I wanted to make a comment, but I forgot it just that quick.
Oops.
No, because now we're freestyling right now. Because
all right, okay, all right, man.
Like I said, you're really inspiring me right now, because when you think about making a book or whatever, especially when you're a young girl, you're just like, that's dope. Like whoever's in behind that, the publishing and the editing and stuff like that, they're gatekeepers, so to speak,
right.
And so to hear you say that you got through that gate is just like, and you look like me. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, and everywhere I go, I don't know, I know you've seen me out, but I always tell people that they are writers, on purpose. Yeah. Because I don't want to be the gatekeeper.
Right.
I want to open the gate. I'm a pioneer. I want to kick the gate down so y'all can come running in behind me. Like, that's what I want to do.
Yes.
Because, we all got stories. We all have a voice. And, if I can help you in some kind of way, get your voice out there,
right,
then I've done my job.
Right. And I also want to make a comment, like here in Greensboro, especially if you're in the art community, we have people that are photographers. They can help out with your cover of your book, the artwork to your book. You have pretty much anything, like from your writers to, like, you're very educated in the field of creative writing. You know what I mean? We have people from all different angles of it. So I think that from where I'm sitting, it's very possible to have a published book. And so
absolutely. We got 50 million friends.
Right.
With cameras, they can even lay you a soundtrack if you need one.
Right. Right.
You can put the link in there, and you know what I'm saying, and it can be a few, it can be anything because of where we are,
right,
and who we're around.
And what's also dope about that is that we're putting money back into the pockets of these artists too when we do that. Right. When we collaborate with other people.
Right.
Yes. Right.
Because that is absolutely critical to making it work. Because I know the folks that support me, 3/4 of them look like me. For real.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if I can, again, find a way to support them because they supported me, and help them grow, then, we all make a little money, a little bit.
A little bit. A little bit. Me and T, we're talking about it, and he's the one that's, he's just amazing, man. He's helping me out with this Bliss talk, and he's doing such a good job getting everybody scheduled and all that good stuff. He's really like a team player, and he's like, he gives off the experiences that helped him too. He's like, well, why don't you do this? Have you tried this? When is your next show? He's like amazing with that motivational, hustle and motivate type thing, and he was talking about how he does so much. Like he has, I see this man doing everything,
Right.
And I'm like, what makes you do so much? He was like, I like putting, making shots anywhere I can. That was his analogy, but my analogy is putting your eggs in different baskets, so that
right,
you might not make a lot of money right here in this basket, but all of these baskets combined, you get a bag.
That's right.
You get a bag. So it's great to be multifaceted, multi-talented, because that's how we can start to create some of this financial freedom for ourselves, and doing it while being creative, being our natural selves, because we're just naturally creative like that.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this has been wonderful. We filled up another 30 minutes with Miss Lavinia Jackson, poet and published author, honey. Miss Lavinia Jackson, this has been beautiful. If you guys want to follow me, you can follow me at @cbliss_. pics. Bliss Talk shows are uploaded every day onto my IGTV, and you can find them also on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to YouTube, because that's what's going to make the difference. You guys might not have money to support people, but if you hit the subscribe button on that page, that's all you have. It's free. It's free to do that. Also, I have a website. It's called blisstalkshow.life. And let's see, what else do I do? OOPGSO. I'm the director of that nonprofit for local artists. And before we leave out tonight, I want to answer at least 2 questions from the people who have joined our live today. And while you guys type your questions in, Miss Lavinia is going to give all of her information so you can go support her.
Yeah, they said, what's your YouTube again? What's the name of
your Bliss Talk Show.
Bliss Talk Show.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a public profile on Facebook. I have several. You can look up Penmanship. You can look up my name, which is Lavinia Jackson. The community arts boxes. Check out any of those. The one where you'll find the most is the one with my name. I have an upcoming online workshop on June 10th. It is open and free. It's centering women veterans, but that don't mean you have to be a woman veteran to a woman vet to attend. And it'll be on Zoom. All the information is on my page, and I'll put it on Instagram too. And you can follow me here at Lavinia_poet. And I think that's all I got. Oh, and if you're on YouTube, go to Save the Arts TV, and under there's some shows, and I actually have a show called Eat Pretty on a Budget. I think we have like 10 recipes that I've done. So just go watch me be cooking in my house, and see what I do besides write poetry.
So we do have a question, Miss Lavinia, from Sierra. She wants to know, since yesterday you talked about how you had a professor who told you that you wouldn't succeed, what would you say today to that professor?
You want me to be plain and blunt, or you want me to give me the doctored version? Because
we do keep it real on Bliss Talk.
Bitch, bye. Right. Right. Like, for real. I wrote her a whole entire poem, like telling her to kiss my grits, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. I would tell her that she had blinders on, actually. That she couldn't see me and she didn't want to see me. And, if that's your prerogative, but I'm successful anyway.
Right.
I was successful before I came to your classroom. I was already published before I got to college. I continued to be published afterwards. So she ain't one monkey don't stop no show.
Come on, somebody. Come on,
right.
Somebody. If that's the key that you take away from Bliss Talk today, remember that one monkey don't stop no show.
No.
Okay.
No, don't.
They don't. You have to keep going. You have to keep pushing through it, because you're going to hear a lot of naysayers saying what they have to say. But as long as you know who you are and what your goals are, push through.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. All right, Ms. Lavinia, that concludes our Bliss Talk show tonight. You guys go support Miss Lavinia and I with both of our endeavors, and let us know how we can support you as well. Peace to everybody, and please be safe this weekend.
Yep.
Bye.